welcome. Welcome to the Designer and Diaspora V&A Dundee series in partnership with We Are Here Scotland and the Architecture Writers, where we aim to explore the work of contemporary designers and artists and artisans from diasporic communities in Scotland. My name is Teshome Douglas-Campbell. I'm an architectural designer, artist, and journalist. I'm here and I'm going to be your host for this evening. Today I'm joined by Ade. I think it's probably best if you introduce yourself. So maybe if you could just tell us a bit about who you are and what you do.
My name is Ade Adesina. I'm currently based in Aberdeen, and I've been here for over 10 years, maybe about 12 years actually. I studied printmaking at Grey School of Art here in Aberdeen, and I fell in love with the city, so I've just been here since. I got my family here too. I got my studio, and I'm a full-time printmaker at the moment.
Wow, yeah, that's amazing. I was just wondering, Ade, before coming to Scotland, I know that you're from Nigeria originally. I was just wanted to understand what your heritage is like and what traditions you grew up around. And I guess by contrast, what was your journey up into coming to Scotland?
Yeah, I grew up in Nigeria, a place called Ibadan. It's about an hour drive from Lagos, the most famous city in Nigeria. And there just a lot of like strong culture with like everywhere you look, from furniture making to textile to carving and molding, clay work. You were just so strong, everywhere you look, creativity was everywhere. So I was really influenced by that. And as I was growing up as well, a lot of my friends were into comics. So I just wanted to be like that, make something, draw. And I've always been drawing as a young kid as well. Then I moved to England, early 2000. I was living in London, and I was studying also like banking and finance, but I just wasn't feeling it. I've always wanted to go into art, so when I was able to afford it myself, I went back to college in 2007. Beasley College, which I really enjoyed. It opened my eye to the art world. We visited a couple of countries like Spain, and we went around galleries in London. I think that was the beginning for me, being able to go to art school and enjoying it as well at the time. And so when I finished college in London, I just wanted to change of scenery because London was really busy. I had my family there. There was a lot of distraction. So my best friend that I grew up with was studying in Aberdeen Uni. And he had a vacant room in his flat. So I just thought, I'm just going to go up and apply for universities up there. And the decision was made in like a week.
I feel like sometimes life gives you these things, you just have to take it.
It was made in a week. It came down, we loaded a car up and we drove up, and that was how I got to Scotland basically. And then I found out about Robert Gordon because I was actually looking into Dundee University at that time, and I found out about Robert Gordon University. I applied late at application. Luckily I got in. And that's it. That was how I got to Scotland.
I guess I also wanted to ask, like, growing up, was it a lot of artistic influences around you that you were aware of, or were you just kind of just drawing for fun, or was there anyone you kind of looked up to around that?
There was a lot of like I said, comic was one of the things that caught my eye as a young child, because I just couldn't wrap my hand around someone my age can just pick up a book and just draw a story out. He's still one of them is still an artist actually, and he lives in Canada. His name is Jibola, and he's really going for it as well. I think he's actually working on Fela Kuti documentary right now,
Wow.
which is a big deal. So he was one of my biggest influence, and I saw him a couple of years ago in Canada when I went for a visit, which was really really good. And I actually he gave me some of the comics from like back in the day, so I have some in the studio as well.
Wow.
And I grew up around, my dad is really religious, and for me, he used to listen to Fela Kuti, and it was just like a contrast, like. But what Fela was talking about back then, about Fela was just it was out of this world. It changed the music. It changed the way we listened to it. I didn't even know it was from where I'm from. I thought it was from another part of Nigeria because it was just in pidgin English, which is not common from where I'm from. So I think that was the biggest influence, part of my biggest influence as well. It was speaking to the political situation around the world, not only in Africa, and he was almost like an activist. And I think you probably know about him as well. So Bruce on Not Prepare, a lot of Nigerian artists, 27/7, which I started, I wrote about them, these people when I was in, primary school, secondary school.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, like a super rich history, and to be able to be there and experiencing it while it's happening.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. But yeah. And also, I have to say, like, even graphically, like I forget the name of the guy who did the album covers, but it's the same guy. But they're phenomenal. It's like so powerful. Like also like very graphic in the way they go about it and the way he goes about it. So yeah, that must have been incredible to soak up all that.
Yeah, I was really young then. I wasn't allowed to, really experience it, but the music came into the house.
Yeah.
Like, almost every night my dad put Fela on when he's in the office. So, and, I think I learned a lot about the politics in Nigeria from listening to Fela more than listening to the news. And a lot of things he was saying back then still exist now. A lot of people he was talking about then, they're still there. So, so the music is timeless in a way.
Yeah, most definitely. I also just wanted to delve in a bit deeper into your work and just kind of maybe just arts broadly, just to start off, like what kind of themes you like to explore in your work, and what kind of stuff is important to you in your work.
I'm interested in everything. Like growing up, news was a thing because news came up every hour, and I remember when the 7 o'clock news comes on, you better keep quiet because my dad wanted to hear everything. So, so I just kind of followed their footstep. I'm always aware. I remember I used to work night shift, and the first thing I do when I get home is put on the news that was happening today. And I think as I grow older, I just pay more attention, and a lot of things going on right now. They're easy to predict. If you put this person in charge, this is what will happen. So my work is based around that, of just a little bit of reality, satire, just a mixture. So I can start from politics and end on energy. Everything is connected in a way.
For sure. I think when you mentioned satire, I think that's something I really picked up on in your art. And even I remember, I think I saw something, and one of your series was called A Naughty Safari. And I think for me, I was just like, this is. I guess my question is that, like, what do you mean by Naughty Safari, firstly? And
that was actually inspired by. I remember I was working on that etching. I was still at art school. I think it was one of my graduate project for my degree show, and around that time I was just trying to get inspiration around here, from the hay farm to the Donna Takasu, Then I found out there's an ostrich farm somewhere really close, which seems out of place. So it's just playing on that, like not a safari. It's almost like animals you see in the safari, but they're here in Scotland. I've
Yeah.
never been to the farm, but I just heard about it. But that was where the idea of putting, the zebras and ostriches into the print.
Yeah,
That
because
was where they came from.
because in your art you use a lot of like Scottish like juxtapositions and all these things of like things that which I imagine you would have in Nigeria with things that you would have in Scotland or the UK. So for me, I can really see like a very humorous and satirical dichotomy, I guess, emerging, which is
It's almost like a connection, because at this point in my life, I've probably say I've spent the half and half. I spent half of my life in Nigeria and half in the UK. So obviously, the influence will come from both places. And printmaking is not that strong in Nigeria, apart from Bruce Onokripeya and a couple of younger artists that I'm actually in connection with on internet or Instagram. That are doing printmaking, but it's not that strong compared to like South Africa and other places in Africa, which is something I'm hoping to kind of maybe encourage at some point when I have the power. It just picking up from everything around me. I might see something here in Aberdeen and it will remind me of maybe something else growing up, and that would be a starting point for something else.
Yeah, for sure. Also, speaking of things from when you were growing up, so like the bobo trees.
Yeah.
So
Baobab.
Yeah, baobab. They come up in your work quite a lot, and for me, being from Jamaica, they remind me of cotton trees, which are like kind of like massive. Can't fit your arm around it, and like quite high at the top. And I remember you saying that there's been a thing of deforestation, and they've been taken away.
But at this point, I think most of the ones left are protected, which is really good. And I think a lot of African countries have actually woken up to the good of the trees. They get like you can order the seeds on like eBay for medical remedies and stuff. Especially in like Malawi, South Africa, Angola. But I think Madagascar has probably got the highest population. There were a couple of trees around similar to baobab when I was growing up in Nigeria. They're called something else. I don't know if they're connected because I was pretty young then. Probably the last time I was around one before maybe the last one fell due to bad weather or deforestation. I'm 4 years old. And I remember there was one down my street. It was so, as a child, looking at a tree that breed. And they used to call them Iroko tree in Nigeria. And they're just so scary for a kid. And, you hear a lot of like stories about them. And I remember whenever any kid is being naughty on their estate, sorry?
Oh, I was just saying, I think
I remember...
No, you go.
Yeah, like whenever the biggest memory of me with similar trees, I'm not sure if they're baobab, but they're huge and they were everywhere. Was like whenever any kid on the estate has been naughty, the usual thing the parent would say, "We take you to the tree." And you behave yourself, you behave yourself, because they would just, wherever you find the trees, they take over the landscape. And I think the connection for me is just that, the symbol of Africa in a way, and it's my way of keeping them alive as well. Because hopefully my work lives forever, and the print and the story about the trees live forever as well.
For sure, and I'm sure, and I guess like there must be a spiritual aspect in terms of them being there and then being taken away, and I guess in your art, your art explores environmental aspects of usage of are the world that we live in. I just wanted to ask how you go about exploring those themes, if I'm correct, or
Yeah.
I'm wrong.
I think it started from our school, really. You know, because most students, you know, when you're in our school, some people, you know exactly what they're doing, and some people just have to find it. I was just trying to find, you know, my path of what I'm into, what are my influence. And I remember having a tutorial that went really bad, and they're like, you have to look into, you know, your background, where you came from, and artists from where you're from. I remember the first artist I looked into was Bruce on Prepare, and then I looked into Yinka Shunibare, and I see the way they kind of handle their subject. And for me at that time, I was really waking up to, you know, deforestation. I think I went back for a visit in Nigeria, and there was a lot of places I couldn't even recognize anymore because of development and industry, industrialization and logging, you know. And I just started paying attention to that. And after seeing a lot of documentaries from Sir David Attenborough as well, about, you know, melting ice, and I think there was another documentary that really influenced me. It was a documentary with Ian McGregor cycling around the world, and he got to a lot of places that used to be like fishing village, or about the lakes have dried out. A lot of places have dried out around Europe and Asia. So that kind of opened my eye as well. And there's another lake connecting 4 countries: Niger, Nigeria, Cameroon, and what's the third country? Niger, Nigeria, Cameroon, and Benin. And this was a huge lake and I think from early 80s, it started drying out. And my calculations are a lot of people depended on that lake for you know, for farming, for livestock, for traveling, for transport. But once that lake started drying out, people started migrating, and that caused a lot of chain effect as well. You know, because people that live beside the lake got different culture, and when they started moving inland, you know, then I just see connection with everything. That was why I started focusing on that subject, and I felt like not a lot of people were doing it at that time as well. So it was a good thing to make commentary about.
Is there impact that you would like your depiction of these things to have when people see it, or is there a kind of agenda that you're aligning yourself with? By that?
I just wanna, in a way, I just wanna make people think, you know, about what has happened in the past, what's going on now, and what could happen in the future. In a way, just, you know, I'll pick up something that's been affected by maybe climate change, and I'll just build a story around it. Maybe things are affecting that thing, or things that could make the situation better. So yeah.
I also want to ask that, as a painter, I'm so intrigued to how you come up with the compositions and organize things in space, because to me, I think, I don't know, dare I say it can feel slightly quite surreal. And I was just wondering where you get the imagery from, and how you go about physically kind of like gathering information to make a print.
Everywhere, really. It's a good thing now that, you know, most TVs are smart. You can pause the TV, and I just, you know, it could be from the news. I'll pause the TV, take a photograph.
When I was growing up, I used to put the video on pause, and put the tracing paper up to the TV. And then so now you don't have to do that. You can be a bit smart about it. But yeah, so
you know, it could be from Facebook. Someone can share something from their holiday, and I've never heard about that before. Then I'll look into the place. You know, we live in an age that information is just coming at you 24/7. You pick up your phone, you can look up what's going on somewhere in like 30 seconds. So I get ideas from everywhere. I get images from everywhere. I take a lot of photographs when I travel, and sometimes when I'm working on a project, I'll just refer to maybe a folder. Oh, I remember taking that photo from that part of the world that's connected to what I'm talking about right now. So it's endless. There was a day I was standing at the bus stop, and there was a poster of Cars 2 or Cars 3, and there was a bridge in there. I took a photograph. I'm always awake and aware of surrounding, looking at the sky, nice cloudy day, or maybe nice calm sea day, and yeah, it just kind of endless.
Yeah, I guess that's the good thing about being in this age. You can really utilize technology to whatever you really want it to be. To be honest, you can use it for good or for whatever. It's a really powerful tool. I just wanted to ask, because some of your art, I remember seeing an interview where you said that some of your art, the inspiration comes from struggle. And I just wanted to ask where that struggle derives from, and like how that plays out in your artwork.
In a way, from a young age, I wasn't really that good at school, to be honest. So for me, art was my refuge. It was a place I went to, that I can do so. I knew I wasn't gonna be like a doctor or lawyer, like a lot of African parents want their kids to be. So, so for me, just picking up something and making something. I remember I used to go to like carving workshops, painting workshops, during the school holidays in Nigeria. I used to go to Cultural Center Ibadan. And I learned a lot from there, even though they were just short period, like a couple of weeks there, a couple of weekends there. But I'm always been kind of interested in creativity. And from the hunger part, a lot of it just like, we're still talking about fracking, what I mean? So yeah, that's an example of like, why are we still talking about that? And so I already got an idea for that. So just me being angry about maybe people not caring about endangered species or poaching or or deforestation or pollution, name it. You read the news and you just get so hungry. But what I found out was like I was getting too caught up with it, and I just kind of pushed back a bit and find a way. I found a way of dealing with that hunger, of just not you pay attention to it, know what's going on. I don't really have much power apart from what I've got right now to try and tell the stories of what's going on, or make commentaries or statement about what I think is going on that hopefully will change people's mind, or people will be more aware of some situation. There's a lot of things going on in the world that a lot of people there's a lot of things that I don't know myself, you know what I mean? But by saying something or hearing something can totally change the way you look at anything. So that's my approach in a way.
I guess it must be, there's a certain, I guess it's not easy to go through the process of straddling the two worlds of Scotland and Nigeria. And I guess maybe you more than the average person has seen the both sides of the consumer coin. Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense?
Yeah.
And for me, when I go to Jamaica, I can always see the impacts of climate change a lot more clearly, and people are a lot more frustrated about it because it's their livelihoods and all these things. So for me, I know when I come back from Jamaica, I'm like, oh my God, I can't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Especially with the, there's Aberdeen is a holy city, and which gives you that connection with Nigeria as well. There's a lot of students here from especially Nigeria that comes here to study oil-related courses or oil and gas, something like that. And the amount of damage that the oil industry have done in the eastern part of Nigeria. It's just unbelievable. You know, it comes up in the news all the time. But if you look more into it, you actually see that there's a lot of places that they can't even farm anymore. There's a lot of places they can't fish anymore, and their whole livelihood depended on that. So it's not only about, you know, cutting down trees. It's about pollution as well. It's about refuse dumping. There was a documentary on BBC ages ago about how all the recycled stuff go to another country, and I was just so shocked. Like,
Yeah.
okay, what's the point of that if you're not gonna recycle it and you're just gonna go dump it somewhere else?
Yeah.
So it just feeding off all those things, and trying to make commentary about it, and finding the fine line as well. Not too negative, not too positive, just, you know, right in the middle.
Yeah, for sure. And doing it in a way which I think your art does really well in terms of making it relatable, but also, you know, you can take a very serious message from it, and, you know, go forth with it and think and cogitate on it and all these things. I guess for the future, what are you looking towards, and how do you imagine your art growing, and what are you excited about?
I'm just at the moment. I'm just excited of being to still be able to be doing it right now. It's just so comforting. Maybe that's the right word. I hope I'm able to continue doing it, because, you know, as an artist yourself, creative person yourself, you know, it's not all that glitter is gold.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you have to just work hard and my work take a long time. I've spent 7 months on some prints, you know, just drilling and trying to bring the story to life, especially there's a print called The View After the Questions. And that was just like a turning point for me of, you know, finding a way of dealing with the news without getting angry myself, and trying to just connect everything. If there's a war in Syria or war in Yemen or Middle East somewhere, there will be migrant crisis in Europe. If there's you know, just like what's going on in what's it called, the war going on right now in Europe.
I guess in our globalized society where everything's connected to each other.
Yeah, there's always gonna be, if something is happening somewhere, it affect everyone else. We just don't really say, So that was just making a commentary about the connection of, you know, I didn't even know where, you know, most of the flowers in Kenya. You know what I mean? Most of our food comes from somewhere else, and most of the things made in the UK as well are being taken somewhere else. So you can see that connection, a global connection of, you know, consumption, production, and migration as well. So it's almost like a commentary about that, and trying to just sneak a little bit of environmental, you know, and man-made disaster and man-made good as well.
It sounds like incredibly interesting. It's like such a, I think you do it so well. And I think it's, for me, it just seems like a very tangible, like depiction of all the things that you're saying. And it's really, really exciting. Do you have any exhibitions or projects in the pipeline which are due to come out?
Yeah, I have a exhibition on in Edinburgh at the Royal Scottish Academy till the 13th of October, and I also have another exhibition at Edinburgh Printmakers, which open end of January. So I just handed in the RSA one like last week, 2 weeks ago. And so I took a couple of days off, so I'm back to work now to just focus on, finishing up for Edinburgh printmakers. And I have other couple of shows next year that are not completely finalized yet. But to be honest, I just keep on working. I don't really think about deadline really helps. When I have deadline, that okay, that speed things up a bit, but there's never been a time that I've actually stopped apart from, the lockdown. When the lockdown happened, I think a lot of things stopped. So, yeah.
I hear that, and it's always hard to keep it going consistently. I think art is one of those things that kind of, the inspiration kind of goes up and down from time to time, which is like I struggle with massively myself, but so it goes, isn't it? So it goes. But Ade, thank you so much for joining me today. I think this is all we've got time for. You can follow me at Art Group if you want to. On
definitely.
And,
what? Sorry, what's that?
It's Art Group, ARK, and then Rube.
Right.
And then your Instagram is your name, right?
Yeah.
Ade Adesina. So anyone who's watching, go follow you. And yeah, Ade, thank you so much for joining me. It was super interesting.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.
And thank you to VNA Dundee and We Are Here Scotland, and big up New Architecture Writers. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks a lot.